And now it's time to find the center of mass. So I just went to Google and I got the formulas that we need. They use K for the density, but at the end we're going to be dividing and the K's are going to cancel. So I'm just going to leave out the K's since they cancel at the end. The other thing is, if you take a look at the graph, we've got a parabola, y equals x squared. And then we've also got the line y equals 4. So this is y equals 4. All right. Now, if you take a look at this picture and you find the center of mass, my guess is that it's going to be somewhere about right here. And because the parabola is symmetric from left to right, I know that x is going to equal 0. I don't know what y is. Y is going to be something between 0 and 4, but I know that the x will equal 0. So I don't actually need to do the x part, which means I don't have to do the m of y, so I don't have to do this formula. But we do need to do what's the area and also the moment about the x-axis. Okay, so for the first integral, we need to find the limits. So what are the limits of integration? So x goes from what to what? Well, when you set these two functions equal to each other, then solve for x, you'll find out that x equals -2 and +2. So there's the limits of integration. So integrate from -2 to 2, and then it needs to be the top function, which is 4, minus the bottom function, which is x squared. And so that is going to be, and I should have written m equals, mass equals. So the antiderivative would be 4x, and then minus x cubed over 3. And then that gets evaluated from -2 to 2. So we'll have 4 times 2 minus 2 cubed over 3, and then minus, now substitute the -2, so 4 times -2 minus -2 is cubed over 3. And then this is going to be an 8, and this is going to be minus 8 over 3, and then if you distribute the negative, then the two negatives are going to cancel right here, so we'll get plus an 8. And then how many negatives do we have here? So right here we have 3 negatives, so that's negative. There's another negative, so now it's positive. There's another negative, so now it's negative. So minus 8 over 3. Or in total, that would be 16 minus 16 thirds. And if you get a common denominator, that's going to be 48 thirds minus 16. 48 minus 16, that is 32. So you get 32 thirds, and then that's what m equals. Okay, so that is one integral. Now we need to do this integral, which comes from 1/2. You add the two functions, and then you subtract the two functions and multiply that. Or you can say square each function and subtract. And again, it needs to be the top minus the bottom. So the top is the 4. So next we have integrate 1/2 square the top function minus square the bottom function, and then integrate that from -2 to +2. So that's going to be, I guess I can just leave the 1/2 right here for now. This will be 16 minus x to the 4th that we need to integrate. So the antiderivative will be the 1/2 stays there, then it's going to be 16x minus x to the 5 over 5, and then evaluate that from -2 to +2. So that is a 1/2, and then 16 times 2 minus 2 to the 5th over 5, and then minus parentheses 16 times -2 minus a -2 to the 5th over 5. And what is all of that? So this is going to be 32. And when you distribute this negative to the negative, there's another 32. So the 1/2 is still on the outside, and then we've got a 32 plus another 32. And what about 2 to the 5th? So that would be 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. So now I've got minus 32 over 5. And just like with the other one, we need to keep track of the negatives. So there's going to be, right here, there's 5 negatives, so that's negative. With this, it makes it positive. And then with this, it makes it negative again. So that's going to be another negative 32 over 5. So we're almost done. 1/2, and then 64 minus 64 over 5. And if you get a common denominator, what is 64 times 5? So that would be 20 and 32, 320. So you'd have 320 over 5 minus 64 over 5. And then how much is 320 minus 64? 320 minus 64 is a 256. So we've got a 1/2 of 256 divided by 5. Or that would be 256 divided by 10. Okay, so then, excuse me while I scroll back up. So the m was 32 thirds, and now we need to divide these two. So take what we just got and divide by 32 thirds. So the y value will be a 256 divided by 10, which I could also put as 25.6, gets divided by the 32 thirds. And then just go over to the calculator. What is 256 divided by 10? So that's 25.6. And then divided by 32 thirds. And it's a 2.4. And so if you go back to the picture, this is a y value of 4. This is a y value of 2.4. So x would be 0, and then 2.4 for the y value. And there is the center of mass.